Good morning, students. Wishing you all a very happy Diwali. May you all have a blissful, healthy, joyful, and a knowledge-filled year ahead. And may you all prosper in your profession in leaps and bounds. So, we are in this festive season, which is not only a festive season for wealth, but also for knowledge. And what better it can be that throughout this Diwali period, we are connected to our ICAI BOS in this process of knowledge gaining and knowledge sharing. So, with this note, let me start my today's deliberation. I request everyone to kindly let me know first your queries, your doubts on whatever we have studied in process till now. And after that, I'll take you to the next journey, next part in the process, a very beautiful part, that is treatment of opening stock. Anybody having any doubts, questions till now, please put forward. Yes, good morning, Bhumika, Shoaib, Om, Swati. Welcome you all. So let me know your questions, students, before I proceed. Anything you want me to explain again? You want me to clarify? Anything you haven't understood? You have doubts when you solved anything? Let me know. Okay, so should I proceed? Now, today the main thing that I have to explain you is what happens whenever there is opening WIP in a process. Swati is saying, sir, weighted average method once again. But Swati, I have not explained in the first place. So how it can be once again? Let me first explain first, then we'll go to once again, right? Okay. So students, whenever there is opening WIP, what is that special aspect that needs to be understood, which wasn't present in the previous adjustments, because of which it is a special category? So let's see. Now see, in this process account, till now we were having direct materials or raw materials, some quantity. At times we were having additional material, wages, direct expenses, overheads, all these things we had. And then on the output side, we had losses. We had output, which is either the second process or finished goods, depending upon the scenario. And you had closing. Now, please understand, students, what is the special point whenever there is opening WIP. Till now, you had only one input of material, which was either converted to loss or converted to output or converted to closing. So if you remember our format, see, when we were preparing this statement of equivalent production, we were writing this out of opening WIP and out of units introduced. So whatever we were making in the form of output, everything was made out of the fresh material introduced, whether it was loss, whether it was next process, or whether it was closing. Now, when you have opening WIP also, now let us say there is some opening stock. It will also have some quantity. Now the question would be, you have two different inputs. And now we have to check what is made out of opening and what is made out of units introduced. Now you'll ask me, sir, what is the difference? The difference is whatever is made out of opening. So any of these three things could be made out of opening. When I'm making something out of my opening stock, which is already partially complete, partially processed, already some expenses have been incurred on that opening stock in the past period. Now to convert it into any form of output, we have to do only the balance processing. So I'll again take the previous sum as the example to make you understand conceptually what I mean. See, here, we were making everything out of fresh material introduced. Now, when anything is made out of fresh material introduced, be it losses, be it second process, be it WIP, the important point is that whatever is made out of fresh material, the percentage of work that has to be done is the total work. Total means if it is finished goods, it has to be 100. If it is WIP, it has to be 180 or whatever given. If it is losses, abnormal loss, it would be 100, 170 as per what is given. So whenever we were making anything out of fresh material, entire processing was happening today. So the percentage that you were writing here were the complete percentages of whatever work is done because the entire work was done today. But now when you'll have something made out of opening WIP, let us say the same final product is made. So now out of opening WIP, you have some units of final product made. Now while making the final product out of the opening stock, which is my last period stock, on which in the last period I had already done some processing. So let us say this closing WIP, which is closing for this period, obviously in the next period it will come here, it will become opening. Now on this closing of last period, 100% material was already done. So you had already used the entire material while making this closing WIP. Now when this closing WIP will become opening WIP in the next period, and you will use this opening WIP to make your final product, you will spend nothing on material because material cost was already incurred last period. That particular item you are simply using to convert into final product. So no need to add material. Similarly, if let us say labor in the last period was already 80% done, and that has now become your opening WIP. So last period closing is this period opening, and you are making final product out of it. We know that the final product is 100%, but here I will put only 20%, which is 100 minus 80. Here it is nil because it is 100 minus 100. What is this 100? It is the percentage of output. So what output we have made? We have made the final product, which is going to the next process. What is this? This is the percentage of opening WIP. That is whatever work was completed in the last period, that closing has become opening. So in the last period, 180, this much work was already done. So in the current period, to convert this opening into the final product, which is 100, the final product, I need not do 100% work. For material component, I will be doing nothing. In simple words, I don't have to add material further because material was already added in the last period. That same item is carrying forward. And today I have to only complete the balance processing. How much? 20%. So by only doing 20% processing on that, my opening will become the final product. So this is the difference that is created whenever you have opening WIP. I hope students, this is the this point is clear, which is the main crucial point of difference between your normal sums, that is without opening WIP, and the sums with opening WIP. So whenever there is opening WIP, you have to check what is made out of opening WIP so that the percentage that we are putting in equivalent can be properly calculated and identified. Okay, Yamini has understood. Swati has understood. Anybody? Home has understood. Super. Great. Now, remember students, by way of a convention, we will be having no losses made out of opening. Either out of opening final product would be made, or either out of opening closing would be made. So just keep this in mind that out of opening, these two things would be made, right? Out of fresh material, any of the three things could be made, either losses or either next process or either WIP. Fine, students? Also, in the last lecture, when we started discussing this WIP business and also started discussing all types of variations of sums, one variety which was left out because of end of our lecture time, that will be covering today is what if abnormal gain is there. So last lecture we only discussed normal and abnormal loss treatment in this WIP sums. So today we will also consider the gain treatment in the WIP sum, and also we have the opening WIP adjustment. So this is broadly, students, the important point whenever there is opening WIP, that now you'll have to check what is made out of opening, what is made out of fresh material, so that you can correctly identify the percentage completion. Okay? So with this background, let me take you to sums. In each sum, I have tried to figure out some special adjustment, and that is why I have selected these sum, so that with every sum, you will get some or the other new adjustment, right? That will help you understand the entire concept in detail. So let us follow. So in this sum, the data says you have opening stock of 2250 units, of which last year or last period from where you are carrying forward the stock, when you did the stock valuation, the value had come to 11,250. And in the last period, this much work was already done on this stock, which was closing in the last period, and it has become opening of this period. Now in this period, the fresh material introduces this much at this cost, wages is this much, overheads is this much. So this part is as usual. Now the scrap, whatever is made, has a percentage completion of 170. Closing WIP, whatever is left, is having this percentage. And the units which were transferred to the next process are this much. So this is the broad details. Now, whenever there is opening WIP, you have to pay attention to the loss. The percentage of loss is given of what quantity? There are three possibilities. One, it can be of input. Two, it can be of total input. Three, it can be of output. So see, I've taken these three different sums from different exams and MTP, RTP. But why these three only sums are selected? Because these three have these different adjustments. So all possibilities would be covered. So you have to be very careful whenever there is opening WIP. Firstly, in terms of how the percentage loss is given. So the percentage loss could be given as percentage of output, percentage of total input, or percentage only of input or fresh input. Now, how this will vary the answer, that we'll understand. Also, as I said, I will also cover one adjustment which we did not cover in the previous lecture. That is, what if abnormal gain is there in the sum? What is the treatment of that? Fine. Okay. Now, so otherwise the sum is like regular sum with only one addition, that you have now opening WIP, which wasn't present in the previous sums. Otherwise, everything is same. Now comes the most important point, that is the method. Whenever you have opening WIP, please understand, students. See, so now you have two inputs whenever there is opening WIP. One is the past input, one is the fresh input. And as I said, you have to check what is made out of opening and what is made out of fresh. Why? Because the percentages would change. Now, when we have to check what is made out of what, it is very important to decide what is the method which we are following. Now, broadly, as we all know, there are three methods. However, this is not there in our syllabus, so we are not going to discuss this. So we will be doing this whole valuation by one of the methods, that is FIFO or weighted average. Now you all know what happens in FIFO. In FIFO, we will presume that whatever is made is first made out of opening. So let us say opening is firstly used to make the final product. And once opening is consumed in making the final product, then we start using the fresh material. Now, this is practically correct also. If you remember in my last lecture, when I was explaining the concept of WIP, I gave you example of tea. And in that example, if you remember, what was my closing stock of the first day? It was the boiled milk. Just try to recall that example so that you'll understand this. So let us say this is the same boiled milk of yesterday. This is the fresh milk which I have brought today. Now, when I'm preparing tea today, in the morning, what will happen? When I will open my cafe, immediately I'll have some customers standing outside waiting for me. What I will do is, I have got fresh milk. On one stove, I will put the fresh milk for making it boiled. But at the same time, I'll take the yesterday's boiled milk and I will start using it for preparing my tea. So what will happen? Practically also, this milk, that is my opening stock, will be used for making my final product, which is tea in this case. Once this entire material of opening stock is exhausted, still I am having customers. Now I'll start using fresh milk, which I have by now boiled, and now I'll be using it for making tea. There would be losses out of this. And again, at the end of the day, there would be some stock which is lying unfinished, semi-finished. So this is what is FIFO, where we will be first using our fresh milk for doing what? For making our final product. Not fresh milk, students. Opening stock is your boiled milk of yesterday. And after this opening stock of boiled milk is fully consumed, exhausted, then I will use my fresh milk. I hope this is understood and clear by all. So this is where the method of valuation will come into play. This will happen only when you have opening stock. So first we'll solve all the three sums because the three sums have different adjustments by FIFO. Then we'll also go to the weighted average method to understand how both methods operate. Okay, students. So should I take up this sum? So let us start with 7 sum. So 2250, value is 11250. Then you have 22750. Value is 88,500. Then you have direct wages, 20. You have production overheads. Now, the question says your normal loss is 10% of input. When they say input, you have to always keep in mind they are referring to the fresh input only, not the opening stock. So 10% of fresh input is 10% of this. So it is 2275. Then what else is given? My unit scrap is 3000. So there is abnormal loss, which will be 725. So total is 3000. And then I have units which are transferred to next process. I'm also given closing. So anyways, it should tally now. Is it tallying, students? Yes. So the quantity has to tally and it is tallying, right? Now, the scrap value given is rupees 3 per unit. So 2275 into 3 is the value of scrap. So 6,600, 7, 225, 6875. Please cross check. Now, we'll start making our equivalent statements. First is working note 1, statement, equivalent production units. Yeah, sorry, it is 6825 because 75 into 3 is 225. Correct. So our format is input, particulars, output. How is my percentage completion given? Labor and overheads are combined. So material, labor and overheads. In material, percentage completion, equivalent units. In labor, percentage completion. Now, this will have some importance, which was blank till now. So now I have input 2250 of opening stock. And besides this, I have the fresh material, which is out of units, introduced 22,750. Now, students, pay attention. Since we are following the FIFO method, in FIFO, as I said, what will happen? I will first use my yesterday's stock of boiled milk, which is my opening stock today, and I will use it to prepare my output. That is in the morning, whenever the customers start coming in, I first use my yesterday's boiled milk. I use it for preparing the tea. So this entire opening stock will become my process to item. So how much is opening stock? 2250. I've written this ulta. This is 19,500 and this is 2,500. Okay. So I use my opening stock first because it is FIFO. And from opening, I prepared my output, which is going to process 2. And since opening is 2250, output out of opening will be 2250 only because that much only opening stock I have. Now I start using my fresh milk. That is the milk which has come today. I start boiling it. So out of this, I have losses. Again, I start using it after boiling is done for preparing tea. And at the end of the day, some quantity is left out of this, which is my closing. Now, normal loss is 2275. This is 725. Now, pay attention, students. Whenever it is FIFO method, this is going to be important. What is important? During the day, my total tea that I made was 19,500 cups. However, now when I'm writing this tea over here, it will not be 19,500 because I've already prepared some tea out of my opening stock of boiled milk. So now the tea which I'm preparing out of my fresh material will be how much? 19,500 total tea made minus this, which was already made or which is already made in the morning out of my boiled milk of yesterday. So this difference is the tea which I have prepared today out of my fresh milk. So I hope you are getting the meaning of the heading. When I'm using the heading out of, it suggests that out of this input, what output I have made. So 19,500 minus this, it comes to 17,250. I hope this is understood and clear to all. Closing WIP, same. Fine, students? See, this is the first important point, so I've put it in red. Now, we proceed with percentage completion. So as we discussed last lecture, losses, normal loss, even though it has the percentage, we will ignore it by putting dash. Abnormal, we will see if any percentage is given. If no percentage is given in the sum for losses, you will consider 100% for abnormal loss, 100. However, if percentage is given, we will take that percentage. So the percentage given for losses is 170. If no percentage given, we assume that the losses are also complete like finished goods. For finished goods, it is 100. For closing, again, what is the percentage given? It is 180. Now comes the important point where again you have to be cautious. This point, whatever is made out of opening WIP, here what we have made our final product. final product. Over here is the product which is going to process 2. So this is made out of my opening stock on which already I had done some work in the last period. Now, how much work I have to do today to complete this opening stock into final product? That is the percentage which I'm going to put. So see, firstly, I will put the percentage of my output which I have made. What I have made final product, which is going to the next process. The percentage of final product is 100. From this, I will deduct the percentage given for opening, which is the work done already in the last period. So how much is the work done on opening in the last period? When it was closing, it was 160. So already entire material was consumed. Like in case of boiled milk, the milk that is there is already the milk of yesterday. So I don't have to put any additional milk here to make tea out of the boiled milk. And yesterday I had done 60% of the processing work. So today, to make tea out of this, I have to do the balance 40%. So I have to do nothing as far as the material, that is a milk component, is concerned, because boiled milk, whatever milk is there, was already incurred here last period, that is yesterday in my example. Today I don't have to add any milk here to make it tea. So milk logically will be 0. Only the last period boiling was 60%. Today, for making that into tea, I have to do further boiling, that is 40%. So this is the working that you have to remember, students. So what is this 100? This is the percentage of the output that is made. What is this? This is the percentage of opening WIP given the sum. So the difference is my percentage of work that I'm doing today. This is the special point that you have to keep in mind. So 0, 2250 into 40% will be how much, students? I think 900, correct? So this is what you have to focus on. That is, I have put it in red, that in opening WIP, this is what you have to focus on, right? Now the other percentages we will put other equivalent units. Kindly help me with the workings. Seven two five five zero eight. Is this 508 Swati exact, or you have done rounding off? Because you should not do rounding off. Fine, students. So this is also important. Had this been 507.5, I will keep it 507.5. I will not round it off. Why? Because these are not real units. These are equivalent. Now important, whenever you are making total, don't forget to include opening WIP quantity also, because till now we were not having the opening quantities. So now you have opening quantities. So do not forget to include the opening quantities, right? So 17, 18. Sorry, this is 2500. So 17, 19, 19 and 20. So it is 20,000 to 75. Right? Please check. All clear? Okay. So working note 2, statement of cost per unit. So you have the material cost, you have the labor and overheads cost. Now, please pay attention what I'm writing. I'm writing current minus scrap value of normal loss upon material equivalent units. Again, I'm writing current labor and overheads cost upon labor and overheads equivalent units. If somebody wants to know, sir, what is current? Current means the cost that you have incurred today. That is this cost. This is current. So it is 88,500 upon 2475. Kindly help me. And this is 61,500 upon 20657.5. Yes, students, kindly help me with the per unit cost. Statement of valuation. So Bhumika is giving me 3.9890. Bhumika, I believe this is material. 3.989. Yes, Bhumika. Go ahead. Swati, Bhumika. So 2.9771. Swati, keep it further. Don't round it. You should not round this per unit because otherwise later on while tallying, you may have difference. Now, I have to do valuation of three things. One is abnormal loss, process 2, and closing WIP. Now, please pay attention, students. Again, first part is out of opening WIP. Till now, this was missing. Now, students, I have not made anything in abnormal loss. I have not made anything in closing WIP out of opening. Whatever I have made is only this. So I will write the cost elements B out of unit introduced. Again, the cost elements, material, labor and overheads. Now pay attention. Out of opening, correct? I have made process 2. For making process 2, for material, the equivalent units are 0. For labor overheads, equivalent units is 900. Again, out of units introduced, when I made abnormal loss, equivalent units are 725,507.5. And for process 2, equivalent units is 7,250, 17,250. And for closing, it is 2,500, 2,000. Right? Now the per unit costs for material 3.989, whatever it is, 3.989, 3.989, 3.989. For labor overheads, it is 2.9771. Further, whatever it is, 2.9771, 2.9771, 2.9771. Now, once we have done this, is this the end? Answer is no. Please understand, students, I have made out of opening WIP some part of my finished goods, which is transferred to next process. While doing this, material I did not consume because it was already consumed last period. Labor overheads also I required only part of it because some part was done last period. Now, is this sufficient to find the total value of final product out of opening? Answer is no. Why? Because here I have only considered whatever work I have done today. But to find out value of total opening made finished goods, I need to add whatever cost I already incurred in the last period. So here I add cost of opening WIP. So what is my cost of opening WIP? My cost of opening WIP is this. So this will be added where in process 2, because opening WIP is consumed in process 2. Now this will be my complete valuation, students. So 1, this is my value for closing. This will be my value for process 2, and this will be my value for abnormal loss. I hope this is clear. Yes. Raise your doubts, raise your questions so that I will also understand whether you have understood me correctly or not. I've already marked in red the important ones, which is special, which is critical whenever you're doing opening WIP sums. I've marked them in red. Yes, students, complete the workings, tell me the total, and also please let me know if there is any question, doubt in this. Chalo, make the total fast. See, Bhumika, why did I add this opening WIP here? The cost of opening WIP, because now I have to find out the value of my final product, which is transferred to the next process. Now, when I did this part of valuation, that is out of opening, when I did valuation of process 2, it was not having any material cost and it was only having part of the labor cost. Whether without incurring material cost and only incurring part of the labor cost, can I make final product? Answer is no. So in order that I get the total cost of final product, I have to add the cost of the work which was already done in the last period. That is the cost of opening WIP. Hence, to this part work done in the current period, I added the work which was already done in the last period. So this total becomes the value of total finished goods made out of opening WIP. Like how here you have taken full cost of material, full cost of labor overheads. So out of units introduced, whatever finished goods is made, the total costing is done here itself. But when out of opening WIP, we were doing costing of finished goods, total cost was not getting covered here. So we had to add the cost which was already done in the past period to get the total value of finished goods made out of opening. Bhumika, I hope I could answer you. Home, add these totals and check in the process account whether the process is tallying. Good. So 4403 is abnormal loss. One three four zero nine five. And yes, 15927. Thank you, Swati and Om. So these are my values. I'll put these values in my process account here. 4403, 1,34,095 and 15,927. And now when I make total, this total on either side should tally. Once it tallies, it means my entire working is correct. Students, is this clear? So here it is opening WIP sum. In opening WIP, the most important and critical parts are first the percentage, and second here taking only the difference quantity as your process 2 made out of opening WIP. And then the other calculations are not so difficult, but yes, you have to be cautious because one small mistake and your entire sum can go for a bouncer. Right? Okay. Now in this sum, the adjustment that we covered was that your normal loss is to be computed only on fresh input. Now in the second question, your normal loss is to be computed on total input. That is, while computing the normal loss, you will multiply the percentage of normal loss by the total of both the quantities. This is our next sum adjustment. So let us go to that. Fine. So opening stock, what is 7,250, value this much. Percentage completion of opening given. Then input of materials, value, cost, wages, cost, overheads, cost. So all details are given. Unit scrapped is 3,000. Degree of completion of unit scrapped is this much. Closing percentage is this much. So all details are given to us ready-made. Now we'll go and work out our details, right? Again, we are following the FIFO method. Seven 250, 45, 750. 45, 250, 185, 500. 9,500, 81,000. See, now the normal loss is 10% of total input. So total means total of this. This will be your normal loss at the rate of 10%. So how much it comes to? So it is 45, 52, 53. So 10% comes to 5,300. Right, students? Now the unit scrapped is 3,000 only. So the difference is my abnormal gain, which will be I hope this is also clear to everyone. So in this question, I have also covered the adjustment of abnormal gain, which I wanted to cover. Closing is 9,500 units. Now, whatever is the balance is your units which is completed and transferred to the next process. Tell me the figure, students. So 3,000 out of 53. 3,000 is gone. So 50, 50 minus this. Is it 4,500? Yes. So these are the details. So let us start. Statement of equivalent production units. Same format, input, particulars, output. Now, how is my percentage given? It is given for material, labor, and overheads combined. So I'll have materials, labor, and overheads combined. Again, out of opening WIP, out of units introduced. Opening is 7250. This is 45750. And I have to follow FIFO. Now in FIFO again, out of opening, first I will make process 2. How much it will be made? It will be equal to whatever I have in opening. I cannot exceed that because only whatever is input can be made my output. Now I will put the other things which are made out of my fresh material. So 5,300, 2,300 bracket. So this is the first important point, students, that whenever you will have abnormal gain, it has to be shown as a negative figure in this statement of equivalent production. Now process 2 again, as I said, for process 2, you had total 4,500 as your process 2, out of which 7250 is already made out of opening. So how much is made here? It will be 4,500 minus 7,250. So that is 33,250. Correct? Is this fine, students? And then closing as it is 9,500. So firstly, I hope this is clear. Now normal loss dash. This is 100, 100. This is 100 and the percentage given, that is 80. Now, the first important point is whenever there is opening, we saw in the previous sum also that you have to take difference. Difference of what? Difference of percentage of output, which is 100, 100 because output is your process 2, minus percentage of opening. What is the percentage of opening given? 100 and 50. So to make your output out of opening, for material, you did nothing. The percentage completion or the work done for material is 0. And for labor overheads, it is the balance 50 because already first 50% was done. So now you are doing the remaining 50, right? Now comes the most crucial second point, which is the new adjustment in this sum, that is of abnormal gain. Whenever you have abnormal gain, first thing I mentioned that it is a negative figure. Second important thing, you will not see the percentage of scrap given in the sum. I repeat, you will not see the percentage of scrap given in the sum. I did not change the screen and go to the question. I did not see the percentage given for scrap. I directly took 100. So this is very important, students. Keep this in mind that whenever abnormal gain is there, you will not see the percentage of loss given in the sum. You will directly write 100, 100. So this is the another special point in this sum. So first special point, already as you know, it is opening WIP sum. So first special point is this percentage that we are going to consider. Second special point is, since now you have abnormal gain, you know that abnormal gain, you have to put negative. And also, again, adjustment from previous sum, only this quantity for process 2 will be the difference quantity. And then important point is percentage of abnormal gain will be 100, 100. You will not see the percentage given for loss. I hope, students, all these points are clear to you all. Right? Now, 2,300 negative. 2,300 negative. So I have to take negative figure while I'm doing statement of equivalent production. Right? 33,250. 33,250. So negative means it will be deducted. So when you are doing this, you have to deduct it. I hope you understood this. Correct? It is 190, I suppose. No, I was right. 7,600. Am I correct, students? Now, 0 and 50% is total. Thirty-one, 40. Is this right? Please cross check. 31, 38, 43, 43, 5, 44. Forty-two, 175. Fine, students. Understood. Statement of cost per unit. This is easy. No challenges here, no special effects. Current material cost, scrap value of normal loss, material equivalent units, current labor and overheads cost, labor and overheads equivalent units. So current material is 185,500. Scrap value is, what is the scrap value of this, some students? 1.5. So 5,300 into 1.5. 2,650. 2,650. So my scrap value is 7,950. Cross check. Labor and overheads total. Upon equivalent units. Cross check, students. See if you have understood. Let me know if there are doubts. You want me to repeat something. You want me to explain something again. Let me know the cost per unit. Abnormal gain process. Oh. Out of units introduced. Yes, 4.389 Shoaib. So I believe this is for a material. 389 something, huh? Don't round it off. 36. 6. 4.38936 and for 4.0663. 4.066390. Is this fine, students? Everything going good? Now, again, nothing is made from opening stock of abnormal gain or of closing WIP. Whatever I have made out of opening is only for process 2. Now, for making process stock out of opening, for material it was 0. For labor overheads it was 3625. So 0 and 3625. Again, I have to add cost of opening WIP here. So this cost is 45,250 as given in the sum. Now, further for abnormal gain, 2,300. Now remember students, here you need not put negative. Here you will put the whole value 33250 and 9,500, 7,600. So students, see, the calculations are mechanical, repetitive, but you have to be very careful. One wrong figure here and there, and your entire answer may doom. 4.066 something, 4.38 something, 38, 38, 4.066, 66. This value of closing, this is value of process 2, and this value of abnormal gain. Chalo, give me the answers. Take complete decimals so that you'll get the correct answer while rounding off. $19,446 Bhumika is saying for abnormal gain. 19,446. Okay. Give me further answers, students. Kindly do working along with me. So that you'll also get the feel. You'll also get to understand whatever is going on. Yes, give me further answers. So fatafat, I'm waiting for your answers. Bhumika is saying process 2 is 341,118. Yes, what about others? Om, Kiran, Sunil, Swati, you all were doing the calculations. Be part of the working so that if something is not clear, you will also get the answer question. You can ask me immediately. So solve along with me. It will help you understand the concepts better. And also, if you are not able to understand something, seven two six zero three. Make a total, see if it is tallying. Make a total, add it, cross check it with the debit side. Yes. Right, students? Clear? Everybody, everything? Should we proceed to the next category? Okay. Fine. I'm waiting. No problem, Om. Complete. Others also, please complete. Do the workings. The more you're solving by yourself, that much accurate it is happening. Difference of nearly 10. But that is because of rounding off. If we have not taken the complete decimals in the per unit, then we will have this problem, beta. So that is why we should ensure that we take the full decimals which are there in the per unit working. So that is where the challenge is. Yes, but it is lengthy, Swati. I agree. Unfortunately, but we can't help. Chalo, let us proceed, students. I hope everybody has got these answers. Should I proceed? Yes. Good. 341145. So you are saying 341145, 19449, and 72604. Okay. Okay. Perfect. ठीक है. Next sum. Let us proceed. What does this sum says? Opening WIP 900 units, value 4,500. Percentage completion is this. Fresh material 9,300. Cost is this. Labor cost is this. Overheads is this. Units transferred to next process 7,800. Here the scrap is 10% of output, realizing 3. Degree of completion of scrap is 170. Closing is 1200, 180. Okay. And you have to solve it by which method? You have to solve it again by FIFO. The difference is here I have taken normal loss as a percentage of output. So all the 3 adjustments I have considered, right? Chalo, you all also start solving parallelly. Don't wait for me. Now you all know everything in this category. So start solving parallelly. Opening, direct material, direct wages, production overheads. Here I have normal loss, process 2, closing. 900, 4,500. Direct material 9,300, 27,300. Twelve 300, 8,200. Normal loss 10% of output. Now students, what is output? Output is opening WIP plus units introduced minus closing WIP. So let me write down other values also. Closing WIP is 1200. So opening is 900 plus 9,300 minus 1,200. So how much it comes to? 9,000 units. Of this, 10%. Correct? What is your scrap? Unit scrapped is this much. Closing is this much. Units transferred is 7,800. So whether you have abnormal gain or loss, 900, we have abnormal loss. Right? Students? Correct? Sure, we'll come to that, beta. Let me first explain the method, then I'll tell you. Right? Okay. Scrap value is at the rate of 3, so 2,700. Let us start working. Working note 1. Production units FIFO. Students, I'll request that you all solve parallelly. You need not wait for me because now we have already solved multiple sums. So you should be now understanding. So out of opening, my opening is how much? 900. Units introduced. Units introduced is 9,300. Again, since the method is FIFO, what will be made? Process 2, how much? To the extent of opening. Now out of this, all other things would be made. Normal loss Abnormal loss. This will be again difference 7,800 minus 900, 6,900. Correct? And closing. Correct? Percentage of loss given 170. Closing is 180. Okay. 170, 100, 100, 100. Again, here difference of output percentage, which is 100, minus opening, which is 160. So this is 0. This is 40. Correct, students? So this is 0. 9 4s are 36. This is 360. Done. This is 300. This is 210. 6 900. 1200. 960. Correct? 3 7,200. 8,400. Correct? 7,860. 070, 8,000, 070. Correct, Swati. Thank you. Okay. Statement of cost. Material. Current material cost. Scrap value. Normal loss. Material equivalent units. Current labor and overheads cost. So how much is cost? 27. 300 minus upon 8,400. Here it is 12,300 plus 8,200 upon. Chalo. Find out cost per unit. Statement of valuation. Particulars. Abnormal loss. Process to closing. Out of opening. Material, labor overheads. Out of units introduced. Labor overheads. Process to 2.92857. Swati is saying 2.9257 and 2.43179. 2.43179. Okay. So these are the figures given by Swati. Okay. Fine. Equivalent unit 0, 360. 0, 360. Plus cost of opening WIP, which is 4,500. ठीक है students? 4317. Correct, Bhumika. Good. Appreciate everybody's contribution. Now equivalent units for abnormal loss 300 to 10. Then 6,900, 6,900. And 1,200, 960. Cost per unit 2.92 something. 2.43 something. चलो Kiran, but I don't think your answer is correct. You have not considered cost of opening also, Kiran. You have to take this part also, which I think you have not considered. So the answers which I'm having is 42361. Yes. Others, please confirm. Swati has also given me this. Om has already given this. Yes, Bhumika. Great. Fine. So students, I'm sure everybody has understood FIFO. all the possibilities. So I've covered all types of sums adjustments in FIFO with also the adjustment of abnormal gain. Right? Okay. Now, let me take you to the second method, which is applicable to our exams. That is the weighted average cost. Now, Swati was mentioning, sir, process is lengthy, it takes time. Agreed. Now, weighted average is 10 times faster and easier than FIFO. So no worries. Whatever time you required, students, it will be lessened. The possibility of errors would be lessened. And I'm sure you'll find this much easier to solve. Now, what happens in weighted average is where I have opening WIP, I have fresh material. Let us in this sum opening WIP is 4,000 units. Fresh material is 16, as you can see. Now, whatever output I am making, losses, normal, abnormal, process to closing. When I say weighted, it means you will merge both these, and whatever output you are making, you will make out of both these inputs combined. This is weighted average. So you merge both the quantities, and out of the merged quantities, both, you will make the output. So this is what is the difference between the FIFO method and the weighted method. And this, in fact, makes your working easier. Shoaib had asked me one question, which I'll answer very soon. So firstly, let us understand the details. So process 1, opening, material use is 25%. Sorry, all material is used. So material use is 100% and 25% is for labor overheads. Quantity is 4,000. Fresh material is 16. Units completed is 14. And closing is 6,000, in which again all material use and labor overheads 33 1/3. Normal loss 5% of total input. So remember this, here it is given total. Now, cost records. Opening WIP, they have given breakup of cost. In opening WIP, material is this much, labor is this much, overheads is this much. So total cost has become 8,000. And the fresh or the current cost is material, labor, overheads. Hope this is clear to you all, students. Right? Correct, na? Now, let us solve this sum so that everybody will understand how to do a sum under the weighted average method. So it is the 10 sum. Process opening, direct material, wages, production, overheads. 4,000, 16,000. Normal loss, process 2, closing. Now, normal loss is, students, it is 5% of total inputs. Now, we all know if it is on total, that is on this 5%. So it is coming to 1,000. Units completed is 14, closing is 6. Units completed is 14, closing is 6. Correct? Now, interestingly, there is abnormal gain of 1,000. Correct, students? Now, the cost records, opening WIP cost is 8,000, fresh material 25,600. wages is 15, overheads is 15, right? What is the scrap value given? No scrap value given. So nil, right? So the process account is done. Now we go to the main part. Statement of equivalent production units by the weighted average method. Same format. Inputs, particulars, output, material. Now pay attention, students. Up till now, we were showing out of opening and out of units introduced separately. See, we were showing out of opening, out of units introduced separately. Now in weighted, we will merge this. Out of opening WIP and units introduced combined. So now your quantity of both is merged into one. So what is the merged quantity of both? It is 20,000. Out of this, losses, abnormal gain, process to closing. Now, I said this is going to be 10 times easier, faster, error-free than your FIFO. Why? Because see, the FIFO was consuming your time firstly in giving this breakup of what is made out of opening, what is made out of units introduced. And in this quantity was crucial because you had to take the difference, and there is a possibility that in exams, in the hurry of completing fast and completing 100 marks, you may end up taking here the complete quantity, which will make the answer wrong. So first challenge in FIFO, which required more caution, patience, is this, and also a big chance of error. Second FIFO is this, where again you were supposed to take the difference in percentage. Again, you have to be cautious. You have to do this meticulously. Then thirdly, whenever you are making a total here, you have to be clear that you should include the opening stock quantity also when you are making this total. Many times it is left out again in haste or hurry. So again, these are very minute workings when we come to the FIFO method. Also here in statement of valuation, in FIFO method, when you are doing statement of valuation, you have to add the cost of opening WIP. Also, while making a total, you have to make a total including even the valuation of opening. These are the factors which are always tedious also and always error prone, leading to some mistake in the exams or requiring a lot of time. Now, all this will be reduced because if I've merged both the inputs, as you can see, I don't have to find out what is made out of opening, what is made out of units introduced, because I've merged both this. So now my workings become smooth and fast. I have to simply copy paste the figures as it is without worrying about what is made out of what should be shown out of what. I don't have to worry. Everything is crystal clear. Everything is simple. I have to simply copy paste the figures because I have merged both the quantities. Again, dash, again repeating, for abnormal gain, you don't have to see the sum. For the percentage of scrap, you have to simply put 100 whenever it is abnormal gain, and it has to be negative. Now, percentage, you don't have to take any difference because here we have merged opening with introduce. You don't know what is made out of opening, what is made out of introduce. So you don't have to bother about taking the difference of the percentage, which we were doing here, which was again a troublesome work, again requiring a lot of patience and minute workings. Here, no such difference is required. Why? Because I don't have separate opening and separate units introduced. Everything is merged. So this is again making my work easier, faster, error free, right? Closing percentages, all material used, so 133 1/3. 133 1/3%. So my job has become easier, faster, as you can see. My equivalent statement, which was earlier a bit complicated, time consuming, is now smooth and fast. Is this fine, students? Clear? Now, this working is the only working which is going to be different and also requiring some patience. Now, my cost per unit working till now was by taking the current material cost, right? Now I will just add cost, material cost in opening WIP to this, minus scrap value of normal loss upon material equivalent units. Same thing for labor and overheads. We were taking current labor and overheads cost. To this, I will add labor and overheads in opening WIP upon labor and overheads equivalent units. Now what it means? See, what is my current material? 25,600. Labor overheads current total is 30. So 25,600 is material. Labor overheads total is 30. Plus, I have to go to the sum to find out in my opening WIP how much is material. It is 6,000. Labor overheads combined is 2,000. So I'm adding the material cost in opening WIP. I'm adding the labor overheads cost in opening WIP. And then I deduct the scrap value, which in this sum is nil. Now, this is the special or the only differentiating point whenever it comes to weighted average, that while computing your cost per unit, you will have to include the respective cost from opening WIP. I hope this is clear to you all, students. This is the crucial point that you have to remember. This is the differentiating point which is not there in FIFO. So my equivalent statement is now simplified. I don't have to take the difference of quantity, the difference of percentage. It is smooth. In cost per unit also, there is no challenge as such. Only you have to remember that you have to include the respective cost of opening WIP here in each cost per unit working. Now, coming to statement of valuation, which was again a bit lengthy in the previous case. Why? Because in your statement of valuation, you are required to again make breakup of out of opening, out of introduced. Then you have to add opening WIP cost. And while making a total, you have to include this. These are the common areas of mistake that happen in FIFO. And generally there is a risk of happening this even more in exams, because in exams we are a bit in a hurry to complete the paper. Maybe if your initial questions have not tallied or not been satisfactory, that is an added pressure that you are carrying when you are solving the sums. So in such pressure scenarios, these things are the areas where mistake happens. But none of this will happen because none of that is required to be done here. So I'm coming to my statement of valuation. And statement of valuation, I have to do valuation of abnormal gain. Process 2. Now, what I will write? Out of opening WIP and unit introduced combined material cost, labor and overheads cost. Now in one step, I'll get the answer. For abnormal gain, my units are 1000 for material, 1000 for labor overheads. Here it is 1414. So for process 2, 14,000, and for closing 6,000, 2,000. Done. Over. Tata. Sum is over. Swati, I suppose you had doubt at the start. You had specifically asked me. Now see, in fact, I find weighted average the most simple method. Most. Oh, Om has given some answers. Om also do give me cost per unit. $1.66 something. So Mayank has given me 1.66 and 2.133 recurring. These are my per unit cost. The students see, so easy, so smooth, least scope for errors. This is for you, the weighted average. Tell me if there is any question, doubt. Is this fine with all students? I well understood everything in this. Anybody having any doubts? Let me know. Let me know your queries, your doubts. So the only thing which is marked in red is what is the different aspect, which is also not so tricky, not involving any very minute calculations. So less chances of errors. Right? Great. Now, we'll go to more opening WIP sums with one more adjustment. What is this adjustment? The adjustment is what I'm calling it as subsequent process. Now, this is not a new sum. Nothing is very special. One small point only has to be kept in mind. Now, Shoaib, I still remember your question. So just allow me some time. I'll answer you once I solve few variety so that your answer will be understood by you also, and I can even discuss that with others also. Fine. Now pay attention, students. Now what is this special variety? Special variety is subsequent process sums. You'll ask me, sir, what is this subsequent process sum? See, the subsequent process sum is the question where you are not in the first process. The question is covering second or third or any subsequent process after first. Till now, whatever sums you are solving were majorly for the first process. Now, I have just taken this another variety. As I repeated, as I mentioned earlier, I'll repeat. There is nothing very new or different. What we did till now, the same thing will be repeated with one small difference. So let us say I am doing process 3, in which you will have opening, because now we are also having opening adjustment. What is important is your main raw material is coming from the previous process. You may be adding some further material, for doing this process, and then your wages and direct expenses, if any, and production overheads. And then as usual, on the credit side, you have losses, you have the next process or the finished goods, and you have closing. Now, the only special point, students, is this. You will generally have two materials in this category of question, where the material coming from the previous process is your main raw material. I will call it as M1 or material 1. And the additional material which is required for this process, I call it as material 2 or M2. Fine. Now, what is important is when you are making this output, which may be losses, which may be your final product, which may be your closing WIP of this process. In this output, while making this output, you have incurred all expenses, material 1, material 2, labor overheads, material 1, material 2, labor overheads, material 1, material 2, labor overheads, right? Please remember, the only point you have to keep in mind is, as I said, this is material 1, which is your main raw material, which has come from the previous process. Material 2 is the additional material which you have added in this process. Keep that in mind. That is the only, you can say, a point. Now the main point, students, is focus. Material 1 is always 100%, whether given in the sum or not. So in your output, the material 1, which is this material which has come from the previous process, which I'm naming it as material 1, will always be 100% in your final product. Material 2, labor overheads, may be anything. It may be 100, it may be 80, it may be 40, whatever. So your other cost may be anything. Most important, material 1, whether given in the sum or not given, the percentage of material 1 in your output will always be 100. This is the only point which I wanted to put across to you. Right? Now with this, we'll solve this sum. This sum you can solve by both the methods. Now this was Shoaib's question. He, sir, where no method is specified, what is to be done? But my first point, Shoaib, is first check whether the sum can be solved by both the methods. Now, I'll tell you one very interesting point, students, pay attention. If the sum does not mention which method to be followed, right? The sum has not given you the name of the method that you need to follow. Then what is the rule? See the question, whether percentage of opening WIP is given or not. If it is not given, the sum cannot be solved by FIFO. Then by default, you have to solve by weighted. If the percentage of opening WIP is not given, you cannot solve by FIFO. The only method possible will be weighted. Second, if the sum has not given you the breakup of cost of opening WIP, breakup of cost of opening WIP is not given. You are given total cost, directly the total of this, but you are not given how much is material, labor, overheads, etc. Then again, the sum cannot be solved by weighted average. You have to solve it only by FIFO. This is the rule. So Shoaib, answering your question, is, sir, if method name is not given, then what we should do? The answer is, see whether the sum is possible by both methods or it is possible by only one method. If it is possible by only one method, you cannot do anything better. In that particular case, you have to solve by that one method only. But in this sum, all data is given. You are even given percentage of completion of opening. You are even given the cost breakup of opening. It means both methods are possible. Now, Shoaib, if both methods are possible, check if any method name is given. Here, I have purposefully not given any method name. If purposefully I have not given any method name, now it is your call. What you have to do? My answer would be, beta, you should prefer weighted average because we saw it is much easier, error-free, faster. So from exam point of view, my personal recommendation is you should go by weighted average only. I hope, beta, I have answered your question and you got the inputs what you were looking for. Yes, beta. Shoaib. ठीक है? See, many times you all may ask some question, but I don't answer it immediately because it may have more relevance when we understand and then discuss the question so that you understand it conceptually. Otherwise, it will be just a point which you need to learn. And I don't want you all to learn much. Let us try to be more conceptual, logical, so that it will be easy. Acha, one thing I just want to add here, one data is missing. It is left by mistake. Material one cost. So material one, as I said, always the percentage is 100. The cost is 40,000. Kindly add this in your questions. So this is left by mistake. It is a typo error. So the material one cost in opening WIP is 40,000. Fine, students. Now, let me solve it by the weighted average method. So even that would be one more practice of weighted average. Plus, we will deal with this variety of a subsequent process sum. Now, this is which process? So following is the data of process Q. Opening WIP. Now see, how I know it is a subsequent process sum? Because in this, you have received your main raw material from the previous process, which is P. Correct? What is the cost? It is 171. Okay. Process P. Then you have the additional material, the direct wages, and the production overheads. 4,000 quantity, 40,000 quantity. Now, what is the cost of this opening? Make an addition of this. This is the cost of your opening stock. 64, 78, 85, 85, 600. Please cross-check. Cost of fresh material is 171. Correct, na? 171. Yes. Then additional material 79, 138, 230. And 69, 120. Normal loss. Is this last process or it is going further? We don't know whether this is last process or not. So I'll write process PQR or FG both. I don't know which process is this. Is this last? Fine. Okay. Closing is 3,000. Normal loss is 5% of current input. 3,000. 5% of this is 2,000. Your unit scrapped is 4,000. So we have abnormal loss of 2,000 and this will be your balancing figure. I hope this is clear to all. So statement of equivalent production units. Input particulars output. Please pay attention. Now I will have two material columns. because the percentage of both are different. Fine, students. Now I'm following weighted average method. So it is out of opening WIP and units introduced combined. So combination of this is normal, abnormal, process R or finished goods closing. We can see how smooth it has become. Earlier when it was FIFO, I had to be very, very cautious in doing everything. Here, it is smooth. It is fast. So I'm saving a lot of time. Also, the possibility of errors will be reduced. So overall, if both methods are possible, you can opt anyone. I always prefer the weighted average method. Fine. Percentage closing 150. 100 is material to labor overheads is 50. So material 1, I know already 100. 2, they have given 150. For unit scrap for material 2 is 90. For labor overheads is 80. 90, 80. And again, I know material 1 has to be 100. So remember, most important thing in subsequent process sum is material 1, whether given or not given, will always be 100. This is the only point that has made me keep a separate category for subsequent process. Otherwise, there was nothing special in subsequent process. Entire working is same like how we solved the earlier sums. $42, $41,800, $42,100. No, $4,100. Right, students? Working note 2. Here you have to just keep in mind that you have to include the respective cost from opening stock. So material 1, so it is current material 1 cost plus material 1 cost in opening minus scrap value upon material 1 equivalent unit. Current material 2 plus material 2 cost in opening upon material 2 equivalent. Current labor and overheads cost plus labor and overheads cost in opening upon labor and overheads equivalent units. Okay. Are we given scrap value, students? Yes, 1.5. So it is 3,000 normal loss scrap value. Okay. So fresh material that is coming from previous process, material 1 is 171. Fresh material 2 is 79. Labor plus overheads 350 and 207. Plus, now we have to take respective cost from opening. Now respective cost from opening is material 1 is 40, material 2 is 24. So material 1 in opening is 40, Material 2 is 24. And labor overheads combined is 21,600 minus scrap value 3,000 upon 42,000 upon 41,800 upon 4,100. So you get the cost per unit. And then our final working statement of valuation. Particulars, abnormal loss, process R or finished goods, and closing. Again, out of opening WIP and units introduced combined. Now the costs which are incurred are material 1, material 2, labor and overheads. Equivalent units for abnormal loss is 2,000, 1,800. This is 37, 37, 37. And this is 331.5. 1,500. Is this clear, students? So this is subsequent process also done. No different working. It will be same like how we solved the other sums today. The only thing is that material 1, you have to remember, is different. So material 1, material 2, both are taken separately. And also very important is that material 1, whether given or not in this sum, has to be taken 100%. Chalo, complete this. Then we'll go to the last part which Swati wanted. She mentioned in her previous lecture, that is about interprocess profits. Just give me 2 minutes. Till then you all complete this sum. So we have the answers 23475 for abnormal. Okay. 485661 for process. And 30814. So these are the answers, students. Clear? Hai? Everybody? Now, moving to the last aspect, markup or interprocess profits, both names. You can use any one of them to understand this. Now, this sum is a sum which is, you can say, taken from your accounts. In accounts, you have solved this sum earlier. I'll tell you where. In accounts, you have solved this sum whenever you all did consignment account, where you were sending the stock on consignment at some markup. Similarly, this concept is applicable in departmental accounts also, where one department is transferring goods to another department at some markup. So that is what is the concept of inter-process profits or markup on opening stock. Now I'll explain you first conceptually what it is all about, and then we will go to the sums. Now see, process 1, process 2, process 3. I'm taking example of this sum, and process 4, which is over here, finished goods, that is 3 is last process, and then goods go to finished stock. Now, whatever process 1 is incurring the cost, what it is doing, when it is transferring it to process 2, it is transferring it by adding some profit margin. Now, as we know, we have opening stock and closing stock in each process. Now, since this is the first process where all its costs have been incurred from outside, that is, they have bought everything from outside, its stock, that is a closing WIP, is valued only at cost. However, when here the material is transferred by process 1 to process 2, as you can see, there is some profit element of process 1 involved in this. Other costs are there. Now, when process 2 will have any closing WIP, it will not be only at cost, it will be including some profit markup of previous process. Now, what is interesting is process 2 is not knowing what is this profit markup, because process 1 and 2 are working independently, which is called as profit center approach in costing. So this is the profit center approach, where your different departments, or here in this case, your different processes, they are treated as independent entities. They are having autonomy of decision making. They can take their own decisions. So process 1, when it is transferring to process 2, it is not disclosing its profit margin. Anyways, process 2 has no problem, because when it is purchasing anything from outside, they are also charging some profit. So process 2 is indifferent. So whether it is purchasing from process 1 or from outside, there is going to be some profit element, which is a cost for process 2. So when process 2 is valuing its closing stock, in its eyes, in its perspective, process 2 is taking cost only. But when I, as a company, is looking at these accounts, and both, or rather all, are sending their closing stock figures to me, according to them, like here in case of process 2, according to process 2, its closing stock is appearing at cost. But the company knows that it is not at cost because there is some profit markup included of process 1. Now, when process 2 is transferring its output to process 3, it is taking its own cost. Its own cost will include process 1 markup already, which is a cost for process 2, which is it is not knowing. So its total cost is including the markup of process 1, and now it is adding its markup also. So when these goods are going to process 3, it is having two markups of 1 and 2, which again process 3 is not aware of because for it everything is cost. Process 3 incurs its cost. Again, it has some opening WIP and it has closing WIP. Now, process 3, when it is informing the company about its closing stock, and see why all are informing their stocks, because when the company is preparing balance sheet, it will have to show all its stocks from all its stages, departments, processes, etc. Now, in the perspective of process 3, it is telling ki, okay, this is my total cost. But company knows that this includes two profit markups of process 1, process 2. And the same thing, when it is transferring its goods to the finished, which is the last stage, again it is transferring it at its own cost plus its own markup. When I'm saying its own cost, it means it is already having P1, P2 profit component. So now when goods are coming here, it is coming with markup of all three processes. And if there is any closing finished goods stock and it is informing its total cost to the company, company knows that, okay, it may be cost from your perspective, but I know internally it is having markup of my own section. See, all these are part of the same company. Now, we all know in accounts that when you are showing your stocks, it has to be shown at cost or market price, whichever is lower. And obviously, we are assuming that the cost is lower. But the point is, from the perspective of company, the figures which process 1 is sending is of cost only, no problem. But the figure which process 2, 3 and finished goods is sending is not of cost. It is including the previous processes profits. So when the company is preparing its financial statements, balance sheet, the company needs to remove the effect of this. And if you all know in accounts, whenever we used to show any of the cost which included markup, we used to immediately create a stock reserve for the markup portion. I hope you all remember this in accounts. Now, the same thing we are required to do over here. That is what is the question which we are going to deal with, which is the sum on markup or on interprocess profits. So I hope this is clear. Now, what is important is, now since this sum will already have one special working required by us to be done in the exam, that is of finding this stock reserve, which includes a markup, maybe of one process or two or three processes. That is why in this sum, no costing is required to be done. No equivalent statement, nothing. They have already done the costing. It means this stage is over. The respective processes have done their costing. They have now given their data to the company for finalization of books of the company. Now, when the data comes to the company wants to know the stock reserve component involved. And now whatever we are doing is what is done by the company. And the objective of the company is to know the stock reserve. This is the perspective with which we are going to solve this sum. So this sum on markup is purely a question which deals with accounting concept, which we have studied in account, that is of finding out the stock reserve in my closing stock. I hope all this explanation is clear to you all. So let me take you to the last sum, which is on this markup. So what is given? A certain product passes through three processes before it becomes the final product, and then it is transferred to the finished stock account. Now, following information is available for the month of December. Opening stock. Then cost incurred, that is material, labor, overheads. Closing stock. Profit percentage when this process is transferring to the next process. So this is the markup which this process will add. Then inter-process profit in opening stock. So opening stock is what is brought forward from the last year. So what was the profit component included in that opening stock? That is what we are also going to find out now. But we are going to find it out for closing stock. Opening stock we already know because that we had calculated last year when we were dealing with the closing stock. Now this inter-process profit is already given here because this we had computed last year. But this closing stock, which is given to the company by the respective processes, the company wants to find out how much is stock reserve included in these closing stock values. This is the whole, you can say, working which is required in this sum. Nothing else is required. No equivalent statement, no FIFO weighted average, nothing. Right? Now, since otherwise this sum has no other special adjustment, I added one more adjustment by saying that the stocks which are lying in the process, that is a WIP, they are not valued at total cost. They are valued only at prime cost. Normally, if you remember now in all these sums that we have solved, our opening and closing stock includes material, labor, and also overheads. But just to give a flavor, because in our exams also they give this type of sum only, they have said that the opening and closing stocks are valued only at prime cost, that is no overheads are included. Fine. Finished stocks have been valued at the price at which they are received, and that is okay. And sales of these finished stock is 3,50,000. So that will be required at the end. What are you supposed to do? Prepare process cost account, that is anyways required by us. Compute actual profit, that you'll get to know. Determine the amount of stock as it would appear in balance sheet. Now, when you want to find out this stock, basically this will be by finding out the stock reserve. Once we find out the stock reserve, automatically we'll get the stock value at which it should appear in the balance sheet. It will be the stock value given minus the stock reserve, right? And then you have to inform why realized profit is different from the profit shown. That is fine. So let me start with this. Now here, students, the format will slightly change. As I said, we are not required to do any costing here. What are we required to do is only accounting. So my format is now particulars, cost, profit, and total value. Cost, profit, and total value. Same thing is process 2. Particulars, cost, profit, now pay attention, students. You are already given the process account values. As I said already, process costing is done. All values are determined. They are determined by the respective processes. Now the data when the process has given to the company accountant, the head accountant, the CFO is doing this working to ascertain the stock reserve. Now here, this value column represents the value as per the respective process. And from that, when I reduce the profit margin of the previous process, I will get this. This is what is the cost from the company perspective. So this is what is the most important column I'm looking for. So I want to find out the cost component from the company perspective. The value is the figures which are already given in the sum, which you can say is the amount column of the respective process account, which already the respective processes have done and given to us. We are now required to take this ahead by finding out this cost. Correct, students? So you have opening. You have material, you have labor. Now remember, whatever figures are given here, these figures are all from the respective process perspective. So 10, 20, 15. Since these are from respective process account perspective, I will put them in the value column because the value column belongs to the respective process. Now in this, I want to find out the profit included. Since this is the first process, there is no profit included of the previous process because nothing is received from any previous process. Everything is received from outside. So there is no profit included. Whatever you receive from outside, that is cost for the process also, and that is the cost for the company also. Production overheads, closing stock, minus. Now this is something different, students. Why am I finding out this? Because this will give me prime cost of goods transferred. See, this was opening. This is my current cost, but only direct cost because I don't want overheads. I want only prime cost, right? Then from that, when I reduce closing, which is actually a credit item, but I'm putting it here so that I directly get what is the cost of my goods, which I have transferred to the next process, right? Students, I hope this is clear to all. I'll just do one thing. I'll add one more step in this. I'll make a total here. This will be what? Total prime cost of goods produced minus closing WIP will be the prime cost of goods transferred. Now I think it will make more sense to everyone. Now again, this 5,000 cost given in the question is same for me and for process also, because there is no previous process of which profit can be included. So the prime cost of goods which are transferred in this, here I will add my production overheads. Production overheads was 14. Again, it is the same for me and for the process. This becomes total cost of goods transferred. Now, my working which is required is finding out value of goods transferred to next process. How it will be? It will be total cost plus profit. So, what is the total cost of goods transferred? It is 54,000 plus 25% profit on price. Now, please remember, this is cost. So 25% means 1/4 of price. Now, we all know this simple calculation. If it is 1/4 of price, it will be 1/3 of cost. So this will be 1/3 of 54,000 is 18,000, correct? 18,000 is the profit which I have added here. So it is also the net profit in this process. So when I add this 18,000 to 54,000, my transfer value becomes 72,000. So if I'm passing the entry by process to account, the cost is 54, profit included is 18, so the transfer value is 72. Now see, this breakup I'm having because as a company, I'm getting accounts from all the processes. So when this process added this 18,000, see this is how the process account would have appeared in the process books. So from there, I borrowed this. And from there, I added these two columns to make my accounts. So where there was no profit included, I copy pasted it in my column. And here the process has shown 18,000 as profit. So I put in the profit column. So finally, I got to know at the end of process one, what process 1 valued at 72,000 is from my point of view of 54,000 because 18 is the process 1 profit component. This is I'm getting to know, and this I will get to know with every stage. And this will help me find out profit margins of the closing stock, which is my main purpose. So again, I have two opening WIP, two process 1. Then I have material, labor. This will again be total prime cost of goods produced minus closing WIP. This will be prime cost of goods transferred. Production overheads. This will be total cost of goods transferred. Net profit of this process, and I will get total. Okay. Now from here, from process 2, the scenario will get interesting. First, let me put this. So process 2 received goods from process 1 at a value of 72. Process 2 knows only this much. But since I am as a company also having the process 1 details, I know that in this process 1 included profit of 18. And from my point of view, company's point of view, the cost is 54. Right, students? Now, we go to the process 2 details. Process 2 opening stock is 12,000, in which the profits, which I know from the last year, included is 2,000. So 12,000 is what the process has reported me as their opening stock. They are not knowing how much is the inter-process profit included. But last year, I had this data. So I had computed the stock reserve on last year's closing stock, which I know today is 2,000. So I know that this opening stock from my standpoint is of 10,000. Further, this process has incurred 21 and 15 for its cost. So 21, 15. Now both these costs are incurred with outsiders. So from my point of view also, this is 21 and 15. So the total cost of, not total cost, the total prime cost of the goods which were produced by process 2 in this period is 12 plus 72, 84, 104, 105, 120. Profit margin included is 20. So total cost from my standpoint is 1 lakh. Now here, this data is what I was looking for to make the computation of stock reserve. How? You will get to know. Now what further is given? That the closing stock is 6,000, production overheads is 6,000. So closing stock 6,000, production overhead 6,000. Now, in this closing stock, I want to find out how much is this profit element. This is the whole purpose of all this accounting. So here my working note is stock reserve in closing stock. How I will find it out? I know that my closing stock value is 6,000. Fine. It is made up of this 120 because 120 is my total. So obviously 6,000 is out of this 120. And in 120, the profit margin is 20. So if in 120, the profit is 20, then in 6,000, it is how much? So by this simple cross multiply maths, so see, it is like this. In 120, it is 20. So how much it is in 6? So by the cross multiply formula, 6 upon 120 into 20, I will get the profit margin, which is included. Students, I hope you got this. So it is 1,000 stock reserve. This is what is the whole purpose of this entire working. So now I know that this closing stock from my standpoint is of 5,000 because 1,000 is the profit component of the previous process. So 95, 19, 126, 6,000 is the cost. So it becomes 132, 19, 101. Working note 2, calculation of transfer price. It is total cost plus profit. What is the total cost? Total cost is 1,32,000. What is the profit margin of second process? 20% on price. 20% means 1/5 of price. Achha, I think there is some calculation error at my end. Oh. Thank you, Veda. Thank you very much. It is 114. Right. So this is 120. Yes, instead of subtraction, I made addition. Actually, better I should put it in bracket. Yes. Thank you, Veda, for correction. Otherwise, it would have been. Yes, Swati. Fine. Thank you. Om, I'm not getting your point, Veda. So this is 120. Now see, 20% means 1/5. 1/5 of price. 1/5 of price means 1/4 of cost. So 1/4 of this is 30,000. So my total value is 150. And 30,000 is the profit which the second process has earned. Now again, this data I have received from process account. So I know what it has earned. Now, interestingly, what from my point of view is 1,01,000. In that, profit of previous process and current process added is 49. So from second process point of view, it has become 150. Please explain process to opening WIP profit. But there is nothing to be explained. This process opening WIP profit is given in the sum. And why it is given in the sum? This was closing stock last year like this, where you did last year this same working and you found out that 2000 last year. So what you computed last year, stock reserve, why you need to compute it again? It is already given in the sum. Had it not been given, we would have computed by the same formula, beta. Om, clear hai? So now by process 3. So what process 2 has transferred to process 3 for 1,50,000? It actually from my point of view is 1,01,000 because in that the profit element of two processes combined is 49. Now see, this is how the company is getting to know the cumulative profit margin in this, which will help it in further process workings. Right, students? I'll just request you all to take a screenshot of this. So take a screenshot. Done. Now this will continue copy paste. Now see, what